So let's do this and see if we remember how to do this properly, shall we? Hello and welcome to the Everything Trackside podcast, the first of a new era, formerly Everything F1. We left that one behind in 2025. Back for 2026. New name, new brand, new identity. Same mantra, driven by the fans, for the fans. And we are here with Formula One news. We're launching our new podcast today, and you're joined by myself, Sean Kennedy. Welcome. If you haven't listened to us before, I'm your host. And I'm joined by my delightful co-host, Coops, Scotland's favourite person.
That's pushing it a bit, but yeah, hello, welcome back, everybody.
How was your winter break?
It was work, whiskey, and chocolate, so you can't really get much better, to be fair.
No, that sounds like a pretty heavenly Christmas break. All right, it was quite good. It feels like Formula One ended a really long time ago, and yet it doesn't start back for a really long time. And yet we had a car on a track today. That's the thing that happened. We had a car on a track today,
and cue the grainy pictures and the speculation. There was a couple of videos I've seen on the socials. If that's true, the cars are going to sound pretty nice, to be fair. If they don't all break down first.
Certainly will. Hopefully, it did look all right. I like the all black look. They're definitely obviously not going to stick with that. Sadly, I think Toto Wolff might be knocking down Audi's door if they try and nick the all black off Mercedes at the start of the season like that. But yeah, we officially have a car on track, which means the Formula One season has started. As of today, as we record, Friday the 9th January, we have the dates for all 11 car launches, because McLaren did us a favour and announced theirs just before we started recording, which was very nice of them. So we can actually chat a little bit about that. We have some stuff to discuss. There's a couple of news elements that have come out in the last week. There's some, shall we say, fiery comments from Sergio Perez from a recent interview, potential talks of silver bullets in some of the engines, and have the likes of Honda and, sorry, Sock, if you're listening, Ferrari missed a trick. We'll chat about that. We'll obviously have to chat about Audi and Cadillac to a certain extent as to where we think they might fit in, obviously with no knowledge whatsoever of what they've done so far. And we'll chat about the launch dates. But yeah, so welcome along to the Everything Trackside podcast. If you were already following us, wherever you follow us on social media as Everything F1, you should still be following us, which is great. It would have all just swapped over. If you haven't yet, if you're new to us, follow us. We're everywhere. You'll follow us. You'll find us at Everything Trackside pretty much everywhere. If you're listening to us, if you're streaming along with us on Twitch at the moment, what I'm going to do is pop up a link right here to our socials. You can give us a look and follow along there. If you're not following us yet, head over to Twitch. We're going to be streaming all of our podcasts and all of our news updates live on Twitch now. We're going to build a great community over there. We've loads on the plan for this year beyond just race previews and reviews. We're going to be getting into F1 Fantasy. We're going to be creating a league for that. So if you're an F1 Fantasy head, get in that. We may or may not even have a few prizes to be giving away throughout the year with that. So follow us on Twitch for all the information on that. Check us out on YouTube. Again, Everything Trackside, everywhere you want to find us. Instagram, TikTok. We might avoid X for a couple of days after the news from this week, but we're there, and Threads, all the good stuff. We'll gloss over that one. But yes, welcome. We are Everything Trackside, and what I want to do now to start the year is to bring in someone who's going to be quite important for us. We actually have a proper sponsor for this show now. We're going big. We're launching, and our sponsor is Slicks Magazine, which is amazing. It's a brilliant new magazine all about motorsport and cars. We're going to bring Lewis Houghton in from the magazine to tell you all about it. We will we'll be featuring them quite often throughout the year. So it's really, really exciting time for us. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually invite Lewis to join us. Hello, mate.
Hello. You're all right.
Sorry about leaving you in the lobby there for a little while. We can, yeah. Can you hear us?
That's okay. You can hear me, yeah?
We can indeed. It's great to have you on. We are live on Twitch, so thanks for joining us. And we were just introducing there the new kind of sponsorship and partnership that we've set up. So I suppose the first thing to do that we really want to get into is tell everybody about Slicks.
Yeah, Slicks Magazine is only in its second iteration. It came out last year for the first time, and it's first and foremost a magazine, but second of all, a platform or a tool for automotive and motorsport people to sort of find independent upcoming talent. And if you're a team or a series, you might find your next photographer, your next press officer within the magazine. But if you just like motorsport, it's an interesting read on its own. But everybody in it is independent and upcoming, and it's a platform for people to say they're published and when they are published, they can be published in something physical and tangible.
Brilliant. So where did the idea come from? So obviously you published the first issue a few months ago, and if I'm not wrong, the second issue published today.
Today, yeah.
Really exciting.
Today.
Really good timing. So where did the idea come from?
I have always enjoyed a physical book or magazine, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in the Top Gear era where I was spoiled for choice for books and magazines and all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of fell out of the scene a little bit, sort of stopped buying magazines for a while. And then when I came back a couple of years ago and realized that there wasn't really anything that sort of resonated with me, I thought, well, I'll make my own. At this point, I'd been freelancing a few years and was in a position where I could dedicate a bit of free time to exploring what it takes to self-publish, and just sort of gave it a try and thought it might work, it might not work, but so far so good.
Yeah, brilliant. So what was kind of featured in issue 1, and what could people expect then to find in issue 2? You've got a couple of big names in issue 2.
Yeah, it's been, the pickup from bigger brands has been a lot faster than I expected. I thought it would be quite a slow burner, but in issue 1 I was fortunate enough to already have sort of friendship with Holly McRae. Met her a couple of years back at the Welsh rally in Aberystwyth, and then her partner, John Armstrong, he's also in it, and he's racing in URC, I say next year, this year, with the top M Sport team. So in issue 1, we had Holly McRae and John Armstrong. They were kind of like the two big selling points, alongside all the other independent people and the photographers and things like that. And then in issue 2, we've got, I hope you didn't hear that, it was my speaker setting off.
We are live.
Yeah, and then in issue 2, we have Quadrant. So we have Lando Norris's brand invited me down to talk to the team and sort of expose the sort of inner workings of Quadrant in a positive way, obviously. Sort of talk about the people who make Quadrant what it is when Lando's away doing his thing, what a day in the life of a Quadrant employee looks like, and the shoots and the upcoming things and the athlete program that they have going on and things like that. Then there's all sorts of stuff from Retro Defenders, which is a Yorkshire-based restoration company that do similar things to Singer with Porsche, but with old Land Rovers, and they're all made bespoke to order and sent all over the world. Lando Norris actually has one of those, so there's quite a nice through line there of two of the bigger stories, conveniently featuring our current world champion. So
Representing,
there's plenty of stuff representing. Yeah, I haven't donned a team shirt. I've sat on the fence today, but yeah, there's plenty of stuff from big names that you'll know, like Quadrant, to names that you don't know. But that's the whole point, as well as having these big names that sort of help shine a light on the project. When you buy it, you're also going to discover new names that you've never heard of before, and hopefully find somebody new to follow and engage with and support their work.
Brilliant. Yeah, it sounds really exciting. Oh, that's a better view. Coops, any questions then for Lewis?
Well, for me, I'm just curious. So we know the physical media in terms of magazines and things isn't where it used to be. I'm the same as yourself, Lewis. I like a magazine. So when you came up with the idea and you think, I want to do a magazine, how quickly did you decide to do it as an all-encompassing kind of motorsport magazine rather than focusing? Was that always the plan, or is that just something that worked in as you were formulating things?
Yeah, it was kind of the desire to make something, create rather than consume was there. And the thing I know most about is motorsport, having followed it for over 20 years. So it felt like the natural direction to take it in, considering I'd also freelanced within motorsport for a few years. So had a fairly sizable network of people that I could sort of reach out to and build from my existing network of freelancers. So it felt like the obvious move, even though at the time my love for tennis was quickly overtaking motorsport. And I thought, well, I could make a tennis magazine if I wanted to, but I don't have enough connections at that time. And I thought, well, I'm trying to, do something that's quite sizable and costly. I'll stick to, it's not safe, but I'll stick to something where I know I have people to fall back on and help, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So who's your favourite tennis player, and who's the up and comer for any tennis / motorsport fans out here?
I mean, I like Yannick Sinner, but he's the obvious pick as the world number one.
I like Carlos Alcaraz, so we've got a good balance there.
There we go. Yeah, there's the controversy of last year aside. I think those two are going to be the Federer, Nadal of our era. So yeah, we're in safe hands. And then also upcomer. Last year I went to the Ilkley Open up in West Yorkshire, and Tristan Schoolkate is this Australian player who won that tournament in Ilkley, and he took a set off Yannick Sinner at last year's Australian Open. So I think he's on the up. I've completely overtaken this podcast to turn it into a tennis podcast, but
yeah, it's a push maybe to get trackside to courtside, but it's close enough. We just love sport, but typically, if you're into one sport, you're into 1,000. We've spent many an hour here talking about comparing Formula One to football and rugby, so don't worry about that.
See, those two, I have no clue. Football and rugby, clueless. Absolutely clueless.
As a Kilmarnock supporter, I wish I was clueless. We haven't won a game in 14, so
yeah. Well, I know my local team, which is Doncaster Rovers, aren't the most impressive team out there. So I could glory support, but I'm not even going to pretend that I know anything about football.
But you do know about motorsport, I'm guessing. Where did your you said you're the Top Gear era, as am I. I could still quote almost every episode by heart. I still watch reruns on BBC Three because it's not really on Dave anymore, which is sad. But that was my entire childhood, was come home, watch Top Gear for 4 hours on Dave. So I know where you sit on that one. Where does your kind of F1 love come from, and who'd be your go-to kind of team and driver historically?
I pinpoint the whole motorsport thing for me to the year 2003. My dad was into racing, and he raced bikes when he was younger. So in 2003, I would have been 5, and he had a motocross bikes. I was brought up, around my dad jet washing his bike in the garden, and coming home covered in mud and things like that. And then naturally he would watch World Rally. And in 2003, it was Petter Solberg who won in that year in his Subaru. That blue and gold Subaru will always be very near and dear to me. And then it was also the exciting transitional year from Valentino Rossi in MotoGP, moving from Honda to Yamaha. I followed that because the Yamaha was the same color as the Subaru. It was yellow and blue. And as a 5-year-old, that was enough to hook me. And then in Formula One, it was Fernando Alonso in the Renault, blue and yellow. So I don't know if it was the colors or if it was pure coincidence, but those three.
You're consistent, at least.
I'm consistent. So yeah, it was Rossi, Alonso, and Solberg. And that era, early 2000s, started it all, and it hasn't ended since. So yeah, I'm a good 20 years deep in it now. Probably a bit too late to back out.
I mean, to be fair,
it only goes downhill from here.
That Renault is a gorgeous looking car. Seeing you look back at it now, the colours, and that was nice.
Yeah, stunning. I just look back on that
second best
whole
looking
era.
car of all time.
Second best, you say?
Yeah, second best. The Braun is the best looking car of all time.
Okay,
No.
the Braun. Yeah, I can't really argue with that.
Nope.
Yeah, the yellow accents around all of our new logo were not accidental.
Yeah, I can't argue with the Braun.
I mean, I can argue with the Braun.
We've got a couple of Top Gear fans in the. We've got a couple of people giving like Top Gear quotes in the comments there. Oh, that'd be a really awful reboot, Mairead.
Imagine that reboot.
I mean,
I'd give it a go. I think I might crash more than Hammond.
I mean, the Grand Tour. I don't know how you both feel. I quite liked the Grand Tour. I think it carried the spirit across. The tent and the celebrity brain crash and all that stuff was a little bit hit and miss.
The American.
But
yeah,
I love nothing more than having a drink of debate on the corner of Conversation Street. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
So did I. And there you go. Mairead.
I like named up. It was the specials. See when they done the big specials where they just went away somewhere and
the Skelly Flick one was brilliant.
I love the Skelly Flick one. Yeah. What's your favourite Top Gear special, if you could pick one from the original Top Gear?
The USA trip with the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and the Porsche. There's a deep cut. Does anyone even
That is a deep
remember
cut.
that one?
That is a deep cut.
Danny Boyle was the guest. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Deep
I like
cut.
the one
mega
where
fan.
did they not end up in the desert one time, and then Hammond's car sunk, and he took it home with him, and he named it and things, a wee small one.
Yeah,
I can't
Oliver.
remember.
Botswana. Oliver, yeah.
Yeah,
Botswana.
Yeah.
He spent the whole night refixing it. But yeah, I like them. I mean, I don't think there's any that's really that bad, in all honesty, when it came to those kind of special.
No, I've just finished reading Richard Porter's book, and I'm currently reading Andy Willman's book, and they're talking about Argentina and all of the events, all the unfortunate events that happened there. Fascinating. And
if you're listening and you're too young to remember the Argentina thing, just go back and read up on that, watch that episode. That was insane.
Ask your parents, what was the Falklands?
Yeah, there was I mean, if anybody on TV, Jackson is very good at causing diplomatic incidents or issues with the deep south in America with what was written on the sides of cars. That was another one to remember. For they very panickedly ran away and had to scrub things off the side of the car. Anyone who's young, as the guys have said, do the Google, get into YouTube, deep dive.
A little bit of Googling.
Not regret, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because when the Vietnam special came out, I was a little bit too young to know the significance of a red, white, and blue star-spangled bike riding through Vietnam. I didn't know what that meant.
It had Bruce Springsteen playing out from it as well.
Yeah, born in the USA. And then he turns to the camera and goes, if you don't understand this, ask your parents why this is inappropriate.
Exactly. And I did.
So there we are, lad. We're now old because we're saying ask your parents what was Top Gear.
Yeah.
But so Top Gear was
crazy.
Inspiration then for Slicks Mag in a roundabout sort of a way.
I would say so because I still have the books and the magazines from when I were a kid, and I just have very fond memories of reading car magazines and car books and having the posters and putting them on the wall. And it was all about the how tangible it was and interacting with it rather than it just being everything on a screen, which is what's happening these days. Thank you for that.
Yeah, the comment there from Ray. It sounds like a great magazine. Looking forward to reading.
I'm meant to acknowledge the.
I'll only flash up the nice ones, so don't worry.
Okay, fair. Does that mean there's some not nice ones?
Not yet.
Not
No,
yet.
I'm kidding. I can't. I think the only people who'd have issue would be anybody who didn't watch Top Gear.
Fair. Yeah. Don't know if there are any Argentinians in the chat.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
If they are, we're
yeah.
Very true. So bring it back to Slicks then, and then we'll move on and we'll do a bit of chat about kind of what's coming up in F1, and we'll get your thoughts on some of that as well. What's next? Obviously, issue 2 is only just launched. We've got you on now here, which is fantastic. We're excited for this launch too. What does 2026 look like for Slicks magazine?
Hopefully very busy and packed full of travel for the magazine and bigger, more exciting features that I can bring and deliver to people in print, which is the whole mission. I'd like to be a little magazine on the big earth that is doing a nice thing and just sort of staying in its own lane. I don't intend to be the next Watt car or things like that. I principally have no ads in the magazine because I don't believe that's what people buy a magazine for. You don't buy a car magazine to look at perfume and watch adverts. You buy it to look and read about cars. So I'm keeping it very independent, keeping it, just cover to cover content and storytelling and original pieces from upcoming talent. So there'll be plenty coming up, and there's opportunities lining up for me to go out and see things and write about it and take a photographer or a videographer, and then I'll also be expanding the YouTube and the Instagram side of things with these kind of videos that will sort of be a conduit to the magazine. Ultimately the magazine is the golden product, but in this day and age, you need the socials to sort of tell people about it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll do our bit here. So I believe we have a discount code for the magazine. Thank you very much, Lewis and Slicksmag, for this. So I have it up on screen here. It's code ETS10 for 10% off the magazine. You find it over at slicksmag.com. So there's a link there. Wherever you're watching this, if you're listening back later, the links to bio, the code, all that, all the good stuff will be in the descriptions. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll pop a link in there as well. And if you're in Spotify and Apple, it'll be down below in the product, in the show description, the show notes. So yes, brilliant. Thank you very much, Lewis. This is brilliant. We're really, really excited to grow with you, I suppose, throughout this year. I'm really, really excited. So make sure you check out Slicksmag. Right then, shall we get into some Formula One discussion? Because, as I said earlier on, we had a car on track today, which means it is the 2026 Formula One season as of literally this morning. We definitely timed this really, really well. We knew Audi were going out today, which is why we planned it. It wasn't just a total coincidence. But we did have cars on track today. And what I'll actually start with on that exact topic is that we do have the launch dates for all 11 Formula One teams this year. Thanks to McLaren, as I said, who were very nice and shared that with us earlier on today. So I'll just read out the dates really quickly, and then we can chat about some of the more interesting things on the razor thin chance that if you're listening to this, you haven't seen this plastered all over social media yet. The first ones are launching this week as you're listening back. Next week, if you're watching live, Red Bull and Racing Bulls will be doing a joint launch with Ford, I believe, in Detroit on January the 15th. Haas will be January 19th. Audi, even though they did a shakedown today, will do their official car launch on January 20th. Alpine Mercedes, whatever they decide to call themselves, will be January 23rd, as will Ferrari. So, no prizes for guessing who's getting all the attention that day. Mercedes are doing February 2nd. McLaren have come in to steal their thunder by also doing February 2nd. Williams will be February 3rd. Cadillac will be February 8th. And Aston Martin, because they're dramatic, will be the last ones to go on February 8th. So really, really excited. And right off the bat, Lewis, of all those, just purely on a visual point of view, which car are you most looking forward to seeing? Who do you think is going to nail the delivery launch? Because that's all that's really going to be for the next few weeks.
I mean, I think Audi will hopefully just look immense. I'm hoping it isn't too hideous as modern F1 cars have a tendency to sort of be a little bit ugly in terms of, what was it? What was the Steak, Kick, Sauber
Team F1?
Yeah, just the names. I'm obviously, but yeah, I'm excited to see Audi and Cadillac being their first time, so that should be interesting. But also just seeing the new design, the new regulations, sort of all liveried up, is something that I'm quite keen to see.
Coos, what about you? Who do you think is going to have the most interesting car design, and why will it not be Red Bull?
Because Adrian Newey works for Aston Martin. I don't think Red Bull have many stamp left, to be honest.
They've never had a particularly massive design department, have they? They have a photocopier.
I mean, the only good thing about 2026 is the chances are Red Bull are probably going to change the livery for the first time in about a decade and a half. So that's about the only exciting thing. And then we'll be excited about it, and they've probably just changed the tone of the blue, a bit like when Japan changed their flag. It went from a slightly darker red to a slightly lighter red in the circle. I think that's what's going to end up happening, but I'm kind of hoping that they're going to go a bit more towards the blue of Ford with their background and kind of change it a wee bit. Maybe go a wee bit more old school. Like, I remember back in the day, I think 98 or 99, when Sauber was mostly Red Bull. So, I quite like the older school liveries. I still think that Monaco should be retro weekend, and every team nominates
special liveries.
A special.
They need to do something to make it exciting, don't they?
Because we know we're not watching Monaco for the racing, so maybe do something like that. But yeah, I think it's just an exciting, interesting time for Formula One this year coming up. We've got the controversy already because there's some issues to do with the combustion engine, and some teams have realised there's tricks. Some folk are saying it's going to cause problems. They're still kind of refining their regulations to do with that, and it's already 26, and we just don't really know. If you go by the gossip, Mercedes have got a march on everybody else, but then again, is that actually true? They're saying that one of the reasons why Horner left or got sacked was because there's a baked-in issue with their first attempt at a power unit, which means they're not going to be competitive, and that was why he got the boot. So there's so many things that I don't even think we're going to know till a good couple of races into the season. Really have an idea. The first race will be like, but I think it'll be 2 or 3 races into the season before we have a kind of idea of where things are going to shake out. And we're going to have a lot of retirements because of power unit failures and hydraulic failures, which we don't see anymore.
It's quite telling, isn't it, that the first test, is it next week, is completely behind closed doors. We saw more of that Audi today than we will of next week's test. Because they can't risk a repeat of 2014, where the cars spent most of the time dead or broken down or blown up in the garage, more so than they did on the track, because they hadn't figured out how these fucking engines work. I don't think this year's engines are as complicated as 2014 because they've done away with the MGUH. But the electrical power, all these kind of Z mode, what do they call, mom or overtake mode? They haven't really figured out what they've decided to call all the modes. And overtake, and just extra battery power. They're definitely going to blow up a lot. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. On the topic of the engines, the next thing I wanted to move on to, there's news coming out now in the past week or so, since kind of life has returned post New Year, that it looks like apparently Mercedes and Red Bull have found a little bit of a, there are no silver bullets in Formula One, but as close as they come, in something to do with the fuel flow, is it? I'm not exactly an engine manufacturer or designer or engineer, but effectively they've found a loophole in the rules that means that they can run the cars more powerfully when they're actually running, and then when they're tested when they're dry in the garage, they apply to the rules. Coops, you might explain that one in a little bit more detail. You're usually a little bit more techie than I am.
Okay, so I knew this was coming up, so I've done a quick Google. The left-handed Google on a podcast is great. So it's to do with the compression ratio of the internal combustion engine. So manufacturers like Mercedes and Red Bull powertrains have reportedly found a way to achieve a higher compression ratio dynamically on track than the static measurement required by the rule. So it's specifically in the rule that the compression ratio should be no higher than 16:1, a reduction from the previous 18:1. But apparently the loophole, the regulations stipulate the compression ratio is measured under static conditions at ambient temperature in the garage. So it's not actually illegal for them to run a different compression ratio on the track. Compression ratio will allow those cars to run probably faster, I'd imagine. More compression ratio, the higher the compression, or the lower the compression. I'm not sure. I'd need to go into a bit more detail, but basically it gives them an advantage, because they're not going to do it to not giving them an advantage. And it could mean that these guys could be way out front a bit. I've seen the comparison to the double diffuser thing with Braun, that this is kind of almost as close to a silver bullet as you're going to get with these kind of tightened up regulations now with Formula One. And apparently they're having another meeting very soon to discuss it. Rival teams, notably Ferrari, Honda and Audi, are lobbying the FIA to close the loophole, arguing it provides an unfair advantage, and there'll be a crucial meeting with the manufacturers on the eve of the pre-season test early 26. So if those 3 teams are saying that's unfair, does that not give you a hint that they're not quite right with their engines, maybe?
Unfortunately for them complaining, if it's Mercedes and Red Bull as we believe it to be, then they have kind of controlling majority sway here, because obviously Mercedes will be supplying 4 teams: Mercedes, McLaren, Alpine and Williams. I still don't approve the Alpine thing, but there we go. I think that's so strange. And Red Bull powertrains, Ford, whatever they're going to call themselves, obviously supply Red Bull and not Red Bull, baby Red Bulls, whatever they're changing their name to this year, which I'm sure will be something idiotic as well. Visa, Cash App, RB. Anyway, that's 6 of the 11 teams. So there's a huge amount of sway there. Lewis, we've seen sort of stuff like this before. Obviously, Mercedes came out with what was considered to be the silver bullet just in terms of the quality of the engine. It was the split turbocharger, wasn't it, in 2014, that kind of revolutionized this era of Formula One, and literally every single engine manufacturer has copied them since. This is a really, really interesting one. Do we predict that this might be the same level of advancement, with the added caveat that if 2 manufacturers have done it, we're not going to have a runaway single team championship this year? Hopefully.
I mean, hopefully not. I think the fact that you've got teams complaining already, it just shows that they're only annoyed because they didn't find it themselves. Obviously, they'd be a lot more smug about it if they had discovered this supposed advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, first year of regs. I mean, the Mercedes without side pods in 2022 and the porpoising, and And a thing I remembered the other day. Remember the DAS with
Yes.
the wheel camber and
Wheel.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of loopholes that are going to be crawled through, and there's probably for that reason going to be a lot of steward and FIA involvement in terms of final results, and they'll be complaining, and there'll be teams going to other teams and having a go, and it'll be a lot. I'm hoping a lot of the decisions won't be made off the track; they'll be made on the track. But who's to say?
Yeah, and it
The
leads.
issue
It
as
leads.
well. Sorry, Sean. The issue as well with regards to this combustion is also we're 100% sustainable fuel. So there's an added complexity about how the combustion process works. So I think that there's a lot of things that have came into play that they've found. The FIA have initially, I think this was before Christmas, they came out and said it's not illegal what they're doing. So there's obviously still rumblings going on and still things happening that is meant that we need to have another meeting. It's one of those ones, as Lewis says, new regs, loopholes are always there. That's the glory of Formula One. Why do you think they hired Ross Brawn? Because he was the godfather of finding the rules, and I think he said something along the lines of, we didn't break them, we just found out how the way to get round them. Why would, Formula FIA was called Ferrari International Assistance because of the things that Ross Brawn and Ferrari back in the Schumacher days were able to figure out. So it's just
The concept sport, isn't it? It's all about advancing and working with the tools and the rules that you have. And if that means you approach something and interpret it a certain way, then that's ultimately what this year is. It's teething problems, isn't it? It's ironing out. I mean, yeah, in 2022, in 2014, we had 2 runaway teams. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but at least it's sounding like maybe 2 teams have a bit of an upper hand and it could be closer. Who's to say?
Yep. It also adds to the question of, I suppose, where do Cadillac and Audi fit in? Well, Audi in particular, they're designing their own engine. So if they haven't found this silver bullet, along with everything else they have to kind of compete with, being a brand new team, they're not sorry, being like taking over Sauber, but like they're coming in with their own engines. It's effectively a brand new operation. They're making an engine for the first time ever. Who knows how that's going to affect them? Cadillac are the other side of the same coin. They're coming in as they're existing, or they're brand new, but they're using an existing engine. With the Ferrari, they're taking the Ferrari, they're going to do their own engines in a couple of years, allegedly. But it's a double whammy on both of them, if being the new teams in their various different guises of brand new or, taking existing. Apparently none of them will have this engine bullet, and it's a question enough of where are they going to fit in. And I mean, just simply sticking a Mercedes engine in the back of that Alpine, no matter how badly they design it, will make it quicker. It literally did exactly that for McLaren when the car wasn't designed very well. They kicked Renault out, decided, oh, actually, it wasn't Honda, it was us. Let's design a good car and stick a Mercedes engine in it. And they got better. So it's a question for that. Lewis, what are you hoping to see from those 2 new teams this year? Obviously, it's probably a lot to expect any sort of victories. And as Sock said on our podcast at the tail end of last year, Cadillac is the team of 2 number 2 drivers, where McLaren has struggled to have 2 number 1 drivers. And Audi, they don't have the world's best lineup. Is it Hülkenberg and Bortoleto? So what are you at least hoping to see from them this year?
I rate Bortoleto quite highly. I think to be F3, F2 champ back to back and then be put in a Sauber is unfair. When you've got, Kimi Antonelli put in the Mercedes and he was, I think finished 7th or 8th overall in F2 that year. Obviously, he's proven that he is good. It has Kimi. I think Gabby has had a bit of a rough year with Sauber, but I think he's got that just raw ability. And I think that he, if given a good car, will be up the sharp end. I'd like to see Cadillac up there because I'm quite a big Bottas fan, and it'd be nice to see Perez back. I think they couldn't have picked 2 better drivers for a brand new team. 2 race winners, 2 proven quality drivers on their day, pretty untouchable to develop a car. It makes sense rather than putting a rookie in a Cadillac to have those 2. So I'm not expecting wonders, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like 2023 Aston Martin happened, where we're shocked and we have, the equivalent of Fernando Alonso fighting at the sharp end. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, but I would too. It's interesting you say that we had some big debates last year as to whether it was the right or wrong call. But, looking back on it, especially after, this is a really lovely segue into the final thing I wanted to talk about, which is Sergio Perez's recent comments. After those recent comments, it shines kind of a new light.
You're going to need to get better at those segues, man. Come on. I mean, we're letting you away with that first one because it's the first pod, but come on, man. Smoother.
I'm still a bit turkey drunk.
And you ran through the gravel trap to get to that.
I mean, Lance Stroll does that all the time. He still has a Formula One career. So, but Perez's comments do shine a new light on his kind of life in Red Bull. He was saying, if I was faster than Max, it was a problem. If I was slower than Max, it was a problem. I was told, I'm number 2 to Max. Everything's for Max. Everything we do is for Max. It does shine a light on his career. I still think it was an iffy choice to bring him back. I like Bottas more than Perez, but it does shine a bit of a new light. And Coops, what did you make of Perez's comments? If you're Cadillac, you look at that going, oh, hang on now. If we axed you out in a year's time, are you going to go on a podcast and shit on us as well?
I think Cadillac are in a good position because no one's expecting anything from them. And I think Perez and Bottas know this. So they're going to be round about the bottom half of the grid for the whole season. The whole season is a testing season for them. Just let them get in, bed down. Bottas will have fun. I mean, he's such a likeable guy. He's not going to take he's going to take it seriously, but have fun with it. Do I think that they've looked at Perez and went, oh, wait a minute? No, I don't think so. I think because if they're talking about Perez, they're going to talk about Cadillac, and that's kind of what you need just now. It's just a wee bit of attention. And let's face it, he spent a few years at Red Bull during the Horner, era. There's going to be some tea to spill, and we all quite like a bit of tea when it comes to Red Bull. So in terms of the comments themselves, do I think there's a bit of bitterness from Perez? Yes. Am I surprised by them? No. Actually, think there's more truth to them than there's not, in all honesty. I don't think at the time that Perez was there that any driver would be allowed to go particularly near Max. If they were getting close to Max, there would be some sort of situation where they would be told. I don't think there was any kind of sabotage necessarily, but I think they were kind of told you need to rein that back in. Oh, you've went too far back. No, back forward a bit. Oh, no, wait, we don't. And I think that contributes to the fact that not only Perez failed at Red Bull, Albon's failed at Red Bull, Gasly failed at Red Bull. Lawson didn't get a chance at Red Bull. So, there has to be something behind it. And it sounds to me like Sergio's kind of just confirming what we all thought.
The question then becomes, Lewis, what does Isaac Hadjar make of these comments? We did speak about it previously, and obviously it was talked a lot about, if Red Bull come knocking the big team, you don't say no. And realistically, the way their contracts are set, you can't say no. They kind of control you. They decide on a whim which of their 4 seats you're going to be sitting in on any given Sunday. Isaac Hadjar, he's a talented driver. I think he was many people's rookie of the season. He was certainly our rookie of the season for last year. Nobody had too much expectation for him. Even having watched F2 the previous year, I didn't even have that much expectation for him. Like you, I'm a big fan of Gabby Bortoleto. I think he's a huge talent, but Hadjar was fantastic. I think he certainly earned that promotion more than anybody else. But he's got to be looking at those comments. Do you think it helps him maybe having a little bit more of an awareness of, okay, maybe this is what I need to temper my expectations for? Or has that culture maybe changed under Laurent Mekies and he can expect a little bit more of a fair life in Red Bull this year?
It's kind of the perfect recipe for Isaac. You've got new regs. You've got the first full year of Laurent Mekies, and I think he's been brilliant. Max's season quite literally turned upside down the second Christian Horner left. And I don't think there's a coincidence there. And Isaac's proven that he's a top driver. And I think also you've got Helmut Marko, who's no longer in the picture. I think it's the best possible scenario for Isaac to settle in to the second Red Bull seat. And I think he'll do good. I rate him quite highly. Him and Gabby had an amazing 2024 battle in F2 and were the 2 most deserving people to step up. And they both have stepped up, literally and in terms of results. I don't have a bad word to say about Isaac. I think he's great. And I think he will perform well because of it's basically a clean sheet for him. He's compared against Max, but even in a fresh car, there's no saying that Max is going to be quick. the car. Obviously, Max is always quick, but the car might not be.
It's a big question, and yeah, I think you're right. There was questions of, you know, how do you kind of best approach this new regulations for a lot of the teams, and I think like Sauber Audi were in a similar situation of, you know, do you put the experienced driver in or do you give the rookie the year to then become experienced by the time there's a changeover? Cadillac went in a different direction because they don't have a kind of a history to come into. So they've gone with the two really experienced drivers. But yeah, I think it's a perfect storm of hopefully a better scenario for Isaac to be able to show what he really, really can do. And I think Laurent Mekies is maybe a little bit more awake to what, you know, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner had teased this a couple of times of, you know, if Max leaves, we're screwed. I get the feeling that Laurent Mekies is actually going to do something about that, like preempt when Max leaves, because to your point, Max will be quick no matter what you put him in. I could put him in my wheelie bin and he'd probably beat me down the road in my car. Max will be quick, there's no doubt about that, but will the car be quick? It's a complete unknown. And if the car's not quick this year, particularly if the engine isn't good this year, they might have found this secret weapon, but that doesn't mean anything else. If like the battery is 50 horsepower down, what does it matter if they're getting 20 extra from the internal combustion engine?
I think as well, Liam last year, the eyes of the world were on him. You know, he only got 2 races to prove it, whereas at least this year, Isaac, people will be paying attention, but they'll be more interested in the brand new regulations, the brand new teams. So it's kind of that sort of pressure of the eyes of the world is off him as well, at least. Obviously, there'll be pressure within, but even less so because, like I said, Helmut and Christian aren't there anymore. And I rate Laurent as a team principal. He was great at racing bulls and he's stepped up to Red Bull and brought along probably the best Red Bull junior driver we've had since Max with him. So I think Red Bull have a very strong 2026 lineup at all levels. Team personnel, drivers, everything.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they've lost a lot of talent recently, which has hurt them. But I think a lot of their losses have almost been for their betterment. I'm thinking immediately of those two you mentioned, Marko and Horner. I think a lot of the poison is sort of gone out of Red Bull, which I think is really, really important. And I think we saw like an almost immediate knock-on effect of that in Max's charge to 2 points off the championship at the tail end of last year, which was phenomenal after what was, with the exception of Japan and the overtake in Imola, a pretty rubbish first half of the season by Max's standards. And then Laurent Mekies came in, steadied the ship, got everybody the upgrades they needed, got everybody back on track, started actually like operationally making things run smoothly, and bang, Max nearly wins the title. McLaren helped, but you know, I don't think he'd have got that close with Christian Horner still there. I think just other distractions would have still been
even
going on.
Yuki, for what it's worth, stepped up and improved.
Yeah.
With Laurent in the seat. I know it's not as night and day as with Max. You know, Hungary, it was over 90 seconds off the win versus, and then ended up 2 points off the championship. But Yuki's season did improve in that second half.
Yeah, it certainly did. So that's sort of the state of F1 news as we are now recording on the 9th of January, obviously like a week into the year. But as I said at the start, we had a car on track, so it's Formula One season again. That's just the end of it. Coops, we have a couple of big dates coming up beyond the obviously the car launches, and we'll have a couple of podcasts between now and then. We'll have a weekly episode regardless, and we'll check in with some news, and you can follow us over on Twitch. We'll get some like daily news updates whenever there is something to talk about. We're going to be doing some streams on Twitch to kind of get some fan and public interaction and get your opinions on the state of Formula One throughout the year. Obviously, the first big date is the private pre-season test, which is the 26th to the 30th of January, which we can't do anything for because we won't see any of it. But the big thing that we can start to talk about very soon is once all the cars are launched on February 11th to 13th is the second preseason test in Bahrain. The following week on the 18th to 20th is a third preseason test also in Bahrain. So we spoke about it earlier on, 2014, they had every car can't even do a lap without blowing up and, the Mercedes. This year, what do you expect to see from preseason testing this year? Obviously, you'd hope they get some of those immediate niggles and blow-ups out of the way in Barcelona, but do we think we'll get even half a pecking order from Bahrain?
Oh, probably not. I think the preseason test would just be people understanding the car. I don't think they'll get a pecking order necessarily, probably until a good few races into the season. Testing's great. You cannot sandbags from Revving 2 or 3. Someone else.
That's what came to my mind, just sandbagging everywhere.
So there'll be a lot of sandbagging. Even without the sandbagging speculation, not saying that there will be, you can't really replicate proper racing situations until you're there. You can't replicate qualifying with the pressures and everything that brings. And you can't certainly replicate, you do race runs, but that's not really about the pressures of, well, the car behind you is fast, they need to speed up, all the kind of strategy about it. So I think we're not going to get an idea till probably third, maybe even the fourth, fifth race into the season, where we can get an idea of what exactly is going on. We'll see a similar picture. And it might be even worse if we get to the fourth race and there's been 4 different winners and 3 different teams or something. We'll be sitting in a podcast tearing our hair out going, what do you think? I mean, I know for a fact that our predictions are probably still going to be awful, which will be highlighted.
We nailed our predictions last year. We nailed our predictions last year. Don't know what you're talking about.
We did not. Well, if you were talking about the Marvel universe, there is another universe out there where we got them right. It just wasn't this one.
What were your predictions? How off the mark were we?
Oh,
I think I said Charles Leclerc would be champion.
I mean, that's just unbelievable.
That says it all, I think.
Yeah.
It was things like,
don't laugh too much. I'm going to put you on the spot before we finish.
There was a lot of poor things in terms of predictions. I think Morgan, who's my son, I think he nailed the top 3 in one race, and he put himself to shame. I think, but I wasn't close. And when we're doing a fantasy league, you'll probably see that in that too. So yeah, in terms of my biggest issue is this completely closed off pre-season test. Now, everyone has issues with these regulations. There's all many things going out about them. They weren't really finalised to very much the last minute. There was a lot of things to say that drivers are going to run out of energy halfway up a straight in Imola, and it's going to be really slow, and they're going to say this, and they're going to do that. And then now they've had this first pre-season test where literally nobody, not even like the race or Autosport or anybody, can go in and do a bit of reporting. So what's going to happen is you're going to get, like, it's the world of social media. Engineers will come out and post something, or they'll pass it to someone. It will get out, but it won't get out in a way that Formula One can control. And it'll probably come out in negative ways. Like, one of the source close to Red Bull has just admitted that, has said that the cars are absolutely awful and they keep breaking down, or, that they're running slower than F2 or whatever it is. And Formula One can't do anything about it because they've created this. So you bring the select few media in there and you get them, you do it. Obviously not what we've used to with Sky, having their whole production there for 3 days and having chats at the end, but allow something to come out, and the Formula One can kind of control the narrative. Obviously not be too amazing about it, like, and these are brilliant, but something that gives us a bit of something to talk about, something to kind of, even imagery, maybe a couple of laps or something, a wee half-hour show on Sky Sports to break it down a wee bit, something. But the fact it's completely closed, it's a very much an own goal and very much not what Formula One should be doing, because any leaks that come out aren't going to be positive. All the leaks that will come out, and they'll come out, will be negative about how crap this car is, how crap that car is, how slow they are, and it won't be about drivers, it'll be these new regulations. So that's not only
that's a really good point, especially about the links, because obviously when we have Sky and when it's a public, even if it's not Sky, it's public, and F1 are posting all like the lap times and the lap counts and who's out on track and who's making changes and all this sort of stuff. But the most important thing there is we can literally see the run. We can see if Lando does 100 laps and Charles Leclerc does 20. You can see if we can see who's hitting top speeds. We can see lap times, irrelevant as they might be. But when it's a completely closed off test, we're not going to see any of that. All we're going to see is a spy photo when Lance Stroll's in the wall. That's it. That's all we're going to see. And that's not going to be a positive news story for Formula One.
A Red Bull on fire on the side of the track, or, and things that will just allow us to speculate in a negative way rather than it being the full context of it. Could have been, so a Red Bull could be on fire at the side of the road, but it might be nothing to do with the regulations. But you wouldn't be able to see that from a grainy picture that someone's put online or someone that's tweeted, which it's just a situation that where this should be a champion. That's new regulations and a new era for Formula One, and a very different era and a big change, because it's not just the engine, it's the aerodynamics, it's the full regulations, it's a full thing, or the power unit, sorry. This should be a kind of exciting time, whereas it won't be, because they've done it. They've created this situation where, as I say, the negatives will come out more than the positives, and then there'll be a lot of damage limitation from Formula One, which they'll spin as best they can, but it doesn't matter, because, as I say, it's the land of social media. Everything will get put out there, and it won't be speculation in a good sense. It'll be, oh my goodness, this is going to be a terrible season. How slow is it going to be? I'm not watching it again. You can hear it coming.
There's an opinion. Maybe they want to rage bait us all and get us talking about it to boost their socials.
I
No
don't think they
publicity
need
is
to worry
bad
too
publicity
much
is what
about
this
boosting
suggests.
socials. I don't think they need to worry about boosting socials, that's for sure.
Well, there's certainly a lot to get talking about. Obviously, I think we've done quite well to pull an hour out of a week of no news. But this was a nice start to our new life as Everything Trackside. So thank you all very, very much for listening, particularly everybody who we've had join us on our live Twitch stream. As I said at the start, from this year on, all of our episodes, our podcasts, our news updates, we will be streaming everything live on Twitch. So if you want to come and get involved with us, twitch.com/everythingtrackside, join us there. Completely free to watch. Just come and get involved. You might even get some podcasts and some content a few days early. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or YouTube, wherever you're listening, thank you very much. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. Let us know your wild predictions for the season with absolutely no knowledge whatsoever about how everything's going to look this year. And follow us everywhere. Lewis, I'll give you the final word. Do you want to give a shout out to where people can find Slicks and get their copy?
Yeah, thank you. So you can get issue 2 of Slicks right now at slicksmag.com, and you can follow on Instagram at slicks.mag and sort of follow the journey there as well. I'll be sharing all the people sort of talking about their involvement and things like that. So it's an exciting time. So that's where you can find me.
And when you're over there, don't forget to use code ETS10 for 10% off a single purchase of issue 2, which is out today as we record. So head over, as Lewis said, and get your copy now, ETS10 at checkout for 10% off. That'll do it for us. But one final thing, because I said I'd throw this to you. I'm going to throw you under the bus here, Lewis. We have no knowledge whatsoever about this year. I would like you to predict the world champion for 2026. Means if you had a fiver right now, who are you putting it on?
Branko Colapinto. He's gonna do a championship sandwich. He's gonna go from the bottom in 25 straight to the top.
That is an apocalyptically amazing prediction.
In honor of your Red Bull love, or Top Gear love, we're going to get ourselves a magnetic board and we're going to write the names and we're going to fling them up like the best lap.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can figure
It's
that out.
Go right here, permanent. So at the moment, you're
sort of cool wall, and each race
we could get a cool
wall, and how they did.
We could get a cool wall, and in the final Slicks Mag of the year, we'll have a page of the cool wall.
There we go. Yeah.
There we go. So thank you all very, very much for listening. Thank you very much, Lewis, for joining us. We're delighted to be partnering with you for this year. Really, really excited to see how Slicks Magazine grows for this year. So thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, Coops. This has been fun. We're off to the races. We're up and running for 2026.
We're back.
We certainly are. And like I said, thank you all very, very much for following us. We are now Everything Trackside. Check us out on all socials. You'll find us Everything Trackside everywhere you want to find us. Hit subscribe, hit like, hit comment, and we'll be back very, very soon with more information about what's to come for later in this year. But for now, that'll do it. Thanks very much, and bye now.